Hey everyone, my name is Matt Cremona.
And I'm Matthew Morris.
And I'm Paul Lemiski.
Today on the Matt and Matthew Show, we're going to be talking with Paul and learning all about his woodworking and what he does. So Paul, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Hello everybody, I'm Paul Lemiski. I basically make one-of-a-kind custom furniture, mostly chairs. I started with a Maloof style rocking chair, and from there kind of learned how to design around that style. So I do a lot of tables, dining chairs, bar stools. I mill my own lumber, I dry my own lumber, and I monkey around a little bit with my videos that I've been uploading to my YouTube channel. And the last but not least, I have a build your own chair course that I offer that you can come to my shop one-on-one and build your own chair.
So if people want to be able to find you, Paul, how can they do that?
I have a website, canadianwoodworks.com. If you want to stay updated with exactly what I'm working on to the minute, basically, you can follow me on Instagram. And of course, my YouTube channel, Canadian Woodworks, is my username. Tumblr, Twitter, all sorts of, I'm on them all pretty much.
So I think all of us really want to know, how did you get started in woodworking?
I would have gone into it right out of high school, although I didn't. I started at a car audio shop, which I ran for 5 years, so a bunch of electronics, all that kind of thing. I then got out of it, and my brother is a logger and he has a sawmill. So my dad, who actually had a horse farm at the time, needed a bunch of picnic tables. So my brother cut the rough lumber, and basically using my grandpa's tools and a jointer that I bought off Kijiji, that's how I started. I started with some picnic tables. Then I came across the book by Sam Maloof, and it just blew my mind. I didn't even know about Sam Maloof 5.5 years ago, and I've been woodworking for 5 years now. So I found the book, and I found some plans actually from Hal Taylor, who really, I can thank him for almost everything that I do. I learned the rocking chair through his book and video, and I haven't looked back.
So Paul, so you mill your own lumber, and that's something I do myself. Can you tell us a little bit more about why you like doing that, or what kind of benefits it gives to your work as a whole, being able to control that whole lumber supply?
You're exactly right. It's awesome having control of the whole supply from beginning to end. Conveniently, my location, there's a lot of trees that get cut down because of the development, so you actually don't have to look too hard for the lumber itself, usually logs. Although there's a lot of other guys also with their small mills, and I get lumber that way where they mill up the logs themselves. But really, for me, it's the cost of the lumber itself. It really brings it down. It is a lot more work, some labor, although, yeah, you know the labor aspect of it, right? It takes a lot of time.
It's a lot of labor, it takes a lot of time, but I like that kind of stuff. I like a hard day's work, so it's not really like hard work for me, really. It's fun work, fun hard work.
Well, basically you don't have to go to a gym, right?
Exactly, save some money that way.
Yeah.
You guys are lucky. I live out here in the desert, and there's no good trees. There's just palm trees. And I don't know if you can make anything out of palm trees out here.
I have no idea. You should try. It'd be a fun experiment.
Through my brother, I get a lot of contacts. He's a logger. He has thousands of contacts, basically, so I don't necessarily get logs through him, but his guys that are like tree service guys, when they come across walnut or cherry, they know basically give me a ring, and hopefully I have some time and I can go and get the log pretty much. You usually have to jump on it pretty quick because there's going to be somebody else that wants that log.
Yeah, how do you transport them? Do you have a trailer? Or do you have some way to load the logs onto a trailer?
I got 6,000 to 7,000 board feet of logs in one shot from a tree service company that cleared it. So with that, my brother actually arranged the trucking. It was a log truck and a half worth of logs. So in that case, you pay a trucker and you move the logs. Now when it's single logs, again, through my brother, he's got a nice dump trailer, 10-foot long, that is rated for 10,000 pounds, so you can take a lot of wood in it.
That's a lot. Have you gotten to the point yet that you're actually using some of the lumber you've cut in your project?
I was very lucky that right when I started woodworking, I made a dining table for a tree service company, and he gave me 3,000 board feet of logs. So right away I had them sawn up by another guy, and so actually up until this point I've been using that walnut. Now I've had to restart that cycle.
You know what, that's so unfair.
Yeah, way to jump into it.
Wow, I mean, the rest of us, we sit here, we get in a car or a truck, we drive down to the lumber yard, we're paying $10 a board foot for walnut or whatever it is. That's pretty lucky. That's awesome, Paul. So, so do you have your own kiln? I mean, what do you do to dry the wood?
I have now walnut, a lot of wood that's been air drying for about a year, and I was actually surprised to see it. It's at 18% moisture, which is I'm really happy with that. And I actually built an insulated chamber that's 14 feet long, actually 14 feet wide, 10 feet deep, and about 7 feet tall. And I put about 500 board feet in there, and I used some home dehumidifiers, although it worked very good from 18% down to 12%. It moved it very quickly, and once I got to the 12%, it became a little slow. So I did decide to basically get a real wood kiln, a Nile L200. It's the Wood-Mizer version, although it's basically a big dehumidifier. It's just designed to work in the higher temperatures. That's the issue with the home units. Once they go above 8, and I had a single home unit in my chamber running, and it made it 130 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's with it being 0 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Like, we're in the dead of winter here. It's very cold. We're having a cold winter and a lot of snow.
All right, you can get a good tan with that.
That's right. So that shows that they're not very efficient, though, because I have a dehumidifier in there now that's equal to 12 of those units, and it doesn't even create that much heat. So you lose a lot of, it's going to cost you a lot more, I think. So if you do small little batches, it's great. But if you're talking about 1,000 board feet plus repeatedly, then you may want to look into something bigger than the home unit.
Wow. What's a small batch to you?
In that chamber, I can fit 2 piles that are about 6 feet tall, 4 feet deep, and 14 feet long. I got 12 footers in there now, so I have about 2,000 board feet probably can fit in the chamber that I built. So a little bit of lumber, considering a rocking chair that I build is about 50 board feet. So it's a few chairs.
Yeah, a few chairs in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Matt, how much do you have drying at any one time?
Drying? Depends how much we cut. There's a lot out at my friend Jim's farm that's just out there waiting to be dried or be. It's just air drying in the barn right now. It's a few thousand board feet out there at any given time, but I'm selling it, a lot of it, so it moves pretty quickly. So once it's dry, it sells pretty fast.
So you guys are going to ship a whole bunch of this to me to hold on to, right?
Send a truck over.
So why don't you walk us through the process, Paul? You said that you got the plans from Hal Taylor, and you were doing woodworking before then, right? So how did you get to where you are now?
So I got the plans from Hal Taylor, and really I was interested in woodworking again, and I was just kind of building the fixtures for my shop, workbenches and whatnot, and a couple pieces here and there for family and friends. And then I came across the Sam Maloof, I got the Hal Taylor plans, and I actually called Hal Taylor and I said, listen, it seems pretty complicated, I don't even want to go through with the order. And he's like, you know what, just buy the plans and you'll make the chair one day. So I made it right away basically, and I was very fortunate that through some friends and families, they took all my first ones, pretty much at my cost, you know what I mean? At that time you're not really making money because it's taking you A, so long to make the piece, B, the quality of the piece too. I always told myself I was going to make 10 rocking chairs before I would sell any of them. So almost all the first ones went to friends and family. Then from there, I go to a show called the One of a Kind Show, which is one of the biggest shows in Canada. That's once a year. And really, one of the biggest assets I've had is some local woodworkers that have been in this field for 20, 30 years. They've supported a family and they're doing it successfully. The one tip I would have is find those guys and see what you can do to learn from them. The business side of it, not necessarily how to make pieces or anything like that, but they have a lot of good information that they've learned from in the past.
Cool. But now, so you really made this your own, though. I mean, you started with the Hal Taylor stuff, but you've since evolved. So how did that go about?
I guess just honestly with the internet, it's amazing how much information there is reading. So through reading books, reading the internet, watching videos, looking at pictures, I kind of started to understand the design process around the Maloof style furniture. And I knew I didn't just want to make rocking chairs, so right away I got into dining chairs, bar stools, which are all based around the Maloof joint. So in the design process, you basically draw your joint locations, you draw your seat location. That's the first thing you know. And then you got to fit in all the pieces after that. And I always draw full-size templates, which I spend 2, 3, 4, sometimes 6 hours drawing just to get the curves right, and then you can go from there. And then you spend that time, you do it again. But I just knew, I guess, that I wanted to do more than just a rocking chair. I fell in love with this style of furniture. I don't know why necessarily. It just really shows off what the wood is as well. It's very genuine, I guess, would be the word.
So Paul, I know a lot of people have been asking about finish prep, and I'm sure what we do in our shops here differs from what you do, especially in more of your sculpted pieces, like the rocking chairs. So can you take us through a little bit about how you actually finish prep a piece, whether it be, maybe it's a little different for a rocking chair compared to like that big computer desk you did, or what, and then kind of what finishes do you use on those pieces?
So first off, a chair compared to a computer desk is two different worlds. It's really just in the time. I do go through the same process, my sanding process. Typically, I start with 150 grit paper. Sometimes I'll use 120 if it's say a harder wood. Sometimes just I find you want to sand efficiently. So if you start with 150 and it's taking you too long, then you know you need to drop down to 120. But if you use 120 and it really rips through it, then you probably could have started at 150 and sped up the next steps. So typically 150, and I use a Festool RO 150 sander, which is a 6-inch. It has a random orbit mode, which is very aggressive, and I use that I use a hard pad, 150 6-inch, and then I'll go to a soft pad. I guess this is where the sanding process differs. When I'm doing a computer desk like that with flat surfaces, you're basically staying with a hard pad the whole time. When it comes to the chairs, I'll go to the 220, but then I'll switch to the super soft pad that Festool offers and go into oscillate full speed. That allows you to really push the sander into the transitions and kind of meld around all the curves. Now this is where the 150 stage is very important because you want to have no lumps and bumps. If you have any lumps and bumps, that soft pad is just going to push into the valley and sand the whole thing equally. Where if you use a hard pad, it kind of floats over the high spots and brings it down to the low spots. So that's another trick at the 150 stage. You use it very slow. I use the slowest setting on the sander, and it's almost like your hands going back and forth with a piece of paper like we would normally do, but we'd be sweating and cursing, but for when you do a chair like this anyway. So the power sander really adds the efficiency. So 150, then the 220. The 320 and 400 are done the same way, full speed oscillate with the super soft pad. And then I'll use their 5-inch sander, which is the RO 125, with their interface pad, which is basically a piece of foam that's very gushy. And then I'll use a 6-inch sized Platen 2, which is like a foam type piece of sandpaper. And it can bend around because it's only a 5-inch sander. So that really, I then switch back to full speed Rotax, and it really gets into those curves and just finishes off exactly what you need to do. Each step, you're kind of just getting closer to your end product. So really, you should be thinking about your sanding process when you're making those first bandsaw cuts. The better you bandsaw, the easier the 150 stage will be. The easier the 150 stage will be, the better the 220 will be, and all the way up to the top of the line. So I'll use the 6-inch on the 5-inch sander, overlaps, 400 grit. Then I use 500 grit and the same thing, a 6-inch pad on the 5-inch. And then I actually will burnish the raw wood. I'll use Festool. They offer a wool pad, and I use that on their 5-inch sanding, or I guess polishing pad, on the RO 6-inch full speed Rotax mode, and that really like pulls the sawdust out of the pores, and I feel like it's almost sanding into the pores. People always ask me if I raise my grain, and even sometimes I'll use water after the sanding process to just pop the color, because I want to see what it looks like. But sometimes I'll show my student, and you'll find the grain will barely even raise, even with just pure water. So I feel like using the Platen 2 paper, which is that foam, as well as that burnishing, it really, it just takes my sanding to the next level, and I think it shows in the end product.
I need more Festool stuff.
The 6-inch with in that RO mode, that like, it's like your hand sanding. I'm not kidding you. Like, I'm still using it as a shaper at that point. Like, it's unreal. I go from grinder to this 150, and it's heaven. What were you, Matt? How do you hand plane anything? Do you sand? I don't really use hand planes on anything.
I don't really use hand planes to finish, mostly because the things that I make, I'm usually incorporating some kind of reversing grain in the wood, or some kind of end grain or knot or something. So hand planing that isn't really the best experience for me. I'm just not that great at it. Occasionally it's like a card scraper to get a finished ready surface, but most of the time I'm just going to go right to the sander. I just do it with I've got the ETS 150 sander, the 6-inch random rubber sander from Festool, and I usually do 120, 150, and then 180 grit. And I'm just really doing flat stuff for the most part, so I don't have to worry about any kind of crazy curves and shaping and sculpting or anything.
Nice. How about you, Matthew? You're a hand plane master, right?
I wouldn't say master, but I'm trying. I try to do more and more with it over the past few years. So these days I'll bring out the bronze smoother, my number 4, or when I'm doing the chairs that I do, the green stuff, a lot of spoke shaves. But inevitably I end up using sanding as well. So I'll finish the parts with a hand plane of some sort, either a spoke shave or a smoothing plane. But eventually I'll end up hand sanding the rest of the parts to 320, just because somewhere in the process I've had to sand something, either I've sculpted something or carved it, and thus after that I've sanded it. So I try to bring all the parts to the same level of surface preparation. But I mean, you're sanding up to, what's the highest grit you do before you get up to burnishing?
Well, the 500, by the time those are expensive pads, so I keep them for a while. So maybe the 500s turn into an 800. That's a possibility. I guess what that also allows is you're going to see if you missed any spots before the finish goes on, which is really nice, because on these chairs you see every spot. So it's like if you left a 220 sanding mark, it's like you scratched the surface with a stone. That's the difference. It's so dark, and it just hides the wood grain. It really allows the wood to come through. It is what sanding so high does, I think. Like the depth of the grain.
So do you have to have really good lighting in the shop so you can see those color differences?
Yeah, good lighting is key. I think good lighting would be key in any shop. You know what I mean? You're using a table saw, you're going to want some good lighting. Or you like to live on the edge.
Yeah, but but I mean, are you using raking light to be able to see the differences in the color? I mean, what? Oh,
I see. No. I just have a lot of fluorescence on the ceiling.
Okay, cool.
All around, so you're not getting. It's just a lot of light from above, basically in all directions, which is good for everything. I guess it's knowing what to look for too. Once you do a few chairs, you kind of know how far you need to take it, and if you kind of see something funny that, well, when I put finish on that, it's going to look horrible, so I better fix that now.
This is a question I have, and a mistake that I potentially made when I was first starting out. When I was finishing, I would finish the piece, and I'd see the problem and try to sand through the finish and then refinish it. But I saw in some video you did that with the finish that you're using, you're able to take it back if you have a spot that needs a little bit of work, and then rework that area, and everything blends nicely. What do you do for that technique? Because I never was able to make that work.
Yeah, you're right. That usually on my chairs, I'll do a single coat of the finish, which is equal parts of boiled linseed oil, raw tung oil, and polyurethane. I mix that in a mason jar, and that way it seals up nicely. It lasts for a long time if you don't use it all. And I just wipe it onto the chair and wipe it off. And I really wipe it really, really good with those blue shop towels that take the finish right off. So at that point, even for my chairs, I'll still have the odd spot that I'm going to need to touch up. Especially in cherry. Cherry really shows everything. So what I like to do now is basically I leave the piece of furniture for about a week. I let the finish cure up decently, and then I'll usually go through my saved up old sandpaper, and I'm able to then work that spot down and clean it up. It usually goes very quickly, because it's usually just a difference of you sand it to 220 at the one spot versus 400 at that spot. So it takes a little knack to get it figured out. But then basically you can blend the whole chair. I'll go around the whole chair with a 4 and 500 in the Rotex mode with those Platin 2 pads, and then apply another coat of finish. And right there, pretty much on the first coat, you can't even tell you ever did anything different. And if you did by the second coat the third, it would be the third coat at this point of the 4 that I put on my chairs, it's completely blended and you're good to go. That is one aspect of this finish that I like, that down the road, 5 years, 10 years, pretty much you can give your piece a rub down with steel wool and put a brand spanking new coat of finish on there, or look just like day one. So Matt, both of us cut and dry a lot of our own lumber. What do you use to seal the ends of the boards? And when do you do that step?
I use Anchor Seal. I think it's really great. It's a really nice waxy substance that dries pretty much clear on the end of the boards. And I like to do it when it's still in log form because it's a lot easier to apply that stuff to a log than it is to go and apply it to a bunch of boards. How about you?
You're exactly right. I actually use the Anchor Seal 2 probably. Maybe that's what you're using as well. It's
Yep,
probably the same thing. Same thing, yeah. I do actually have boards that cut at the same time that I use latex paint. And there actually is a visual difference of checking between the Anchor Seal and the paint. Although I also have boards that have had nothing on it, and it definitely checks even more than the paint. So there is different levels, but the Anchor Seal is the way to go for sure. Although I kind of like to do it after the boards are cut. I understand. I would probably do it in the log, and then I like to carry it up about 2 to 4 inches on the end of the board as well.
I'll do that on the bigger boards, like the more I don't know if you want to call it prized boards, like the really wide like slab style boards that I don't want to crack at all. And if I'll apply it to the face of the board as well if it's got like a crotch section in it, because that's pretty much all end grain as well. So you're gonna have some cracking there as well if it's drying too fast. So to preserve a crotch section, I'll put the Anchor Seal directly on the board as well and just seal it up that way too. That helps a lot.
Yeah, so you'd always recommend sealing your crotch.
Absolutely, keep that crotch all sealed right up.
That's good.
So we've heard a little bit about how you got started, Paul. Matt, what got you into wanting to mill up your own lumber?
For me, it was just that natural progression. So when I started, I was looking at the prices I was paying for surface lumber, and I saw the prices I could be paying for rough cut lumber, and then I saw the prices I could be paying for wet lumber, and then I saw the prices I could be paying for a log. So it just kind of progressed naturally that way as in my quest for spending less and less money on materials. And once I got into the actual like full control, when you go out and cut the tree yourself, that in itself is an amazing experience too. So that's like another like side hobby thing as well. So it just becomes another thing that I like to do. Really, it's kind of part of my woodworking, but it could be its own separate thing as well. Just something I enjoy.
I think you should mention too. Like you mentioned how it's like a big thing to be milling your own lumber, but really a guy with a chainsaw and an Alaskan mill can easily cut up a couple logs on his driveway.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not the fastest thing in the world, and it's definitely not efficient as far as your time goes. But for a guy just doing a couple logs and they don't have a lot of space or whatever, or they don't want to make a big investment, the chainsaw mill is a great way to go because you're going to need a chainsaw regardless if you're going to be doing your own lumber, because you're going to want to cut a log at some point. So you're going to need that chainsaw anyway. So really all you're looking at doing is investing in the apparatus for the mill, which is only $200. Yeah, and you can do it anywhere. I do it here. I have a 1/4 acre in the middle of a suburb, and I do it right in my backyard. So Paul, you're pretty much your professional woodworker. You sell the things you make. Can you talk a little bit about how you went about getting started as far as the business side went? How did you go about establishing yourself as a brand and then marketing your work to people and actually having a successful business based around something you're extremely passionate about?
I think when it comes to woodworking, you need to, when you start out, experience different types of woodworking, then figure out either you want to mix all those different types together and go on with that, or kind of focus on one venue, one route that you want to go down. So with me, I basically kind of wanted to focus on one-of-a-kind type stuff. I came across the Sam Maloof style of furniture, which is a little bit more on the higher end than the price range, that's for sure, just because of the labor involved in finishing. So I went out and found woodworkers that are doing that type of work and basically listened to them on how they do their marketing and how they get their clients, and basically shot them a bunch of questions. And you'll find most woodworkers, which is an awesome thing. We all want to share information. We want to help each other out. That's one reason we're doing this right now. And basically there's a show called the One of a Kind Show, and he said, listen, you're going to do one show a year and you'll go to that show. You have to do that show for 3 years in a row before you can decide if you don't want to do that show again, because you'll have people there that love your work, but because of the price tag, they want to see that you're around, they want to see that you're established, that you're not just flying in there trying to make a quick buck, that you really love what you do. And so the One of a Kind show is big for me. I do that just once a year. And then now the internet. I think if you're starting out and you want to get into woodworking and be able to sell pieces rather than, I don't think many people are going into the yellow pages to look up custom furniture. There's not too many pictures. So the internet is really big. Instagram's been great for me. I got very lucky. They featured me on their blog about a year ago. So blog.instagram.com/Canadian Woodworks, I think is probably where that page would be. And from that, I got many users. And from there, I've just been growing that community. I like to interact with everyone. The key thing is you're going to get a lot of emails. A lot of people have a lot of questions. And you want to stay on top of all your emails. That's very important, which is now, I've been at this for 5 years. So staying on top of every little detail, you gotta really understand the business side of it on how to organize yourself. So the better you're organized, the better your marketing is going to be, the more clients you're going to meet, which then that'll turn into more sales. I always get asked how the One of a Kind show has done for you, and when I'm at the show. But with my type of furniture, I hear from clients 2 years or 3 years down the road. I do get sales and potential orders right at the show as well. But even just last weekend, I got 2 emails within an hour from 2 different people that saw me at 2 different years of the One of a Kind show, wanting hopefully some chairs, I believe, and the other one was possibly a dining table. So you really got to stick to it and just stay on top of everything, stay organized, and be very professional about what you're trying to do.
So for you, Paul, it's more going to the shows. It sounds like, well, I mean, it sounds like you got a little bit of a mix. The shows definitely bring in revenue for you or orders, and then the online stuff does as well. Now, have you ever used some of these other sites like custommade.com? I'm on that. I've been on there for years, but it's really evolved. It went from just furniture makers to like everything. But nonetheless, so are you listed on any other third-party places as well?
Well, because of the big chain link wire fence between our 2 countries that seems to exist, Custom Made doesn't let Canadians on, actually. So Custom Made, I'm not on there. I'm actually not really on any like type auction sites or anything like that. I mainly draw from my website itself. I get about 100 to 150 daily users on my website, which is a whole nother part of the marketing. You want to be paying attention to your analytics so that you know what is working and what isn't working for you. That's one of the main advantages of the internet, is you can get instant feedback all the time, typically in real time. It's not like a yellow page ad, it's not like a commercial that you put on the radio. You have no idea what that's doing really. On the internet, you know how many views you have, you know how many comments you have, and it's a very, very handy tool for me. The internet is actually really big.
So you've really spent the time to research what keywords are good for you, what kind of content you should be putting up in order to help drive that traffic to your site.
That's exactly right. Your keywords and content actually I think is even bigger than keywords now. So I do have a blog on my site, which actually I have been pretty lazy at because I've been doing more with the YouTube videos now. So again, the blog, you don't necessarily know, you can know how many people read it, but you don't know what that translates into. With the YouTube videos, people are leaving comments. They seem to be more willing to leave comments right in the YouTube videos and ask you questions and or even give you suggestions. So YouTube is kind of where I'm now starting to focus more of my energy. More like the chainsaw milling that Matt does with his own lumber. I started and it was really fun, and I saw it as a whole nother avenue that could be its own thing as well. So we'll see how it goes. I like doing it. I like the interaction that I get.
So have you gotten orders from the YouTube stuff or for your chairs, or is that more so the other business that you have, which is your school?
I think through YouTube I don't necessarily get too many orders. It's more sharing the information to other woodworkers. But also my clients like going on there because they get to see their pieces have been fabricated. Typically as I fabricate a piece, I take lots of videos, lots of pictures, which I'm doing anyways, and I edit that into a little video and they get to see their piece being built. I do get client orders through Instagram. I'll get emails saying, hey, I saw this desk or saw this chair on Instagram, and I want it this size, or could you change this or that. So it's nice. It's a very easy way to show what you can do, and reach a large audience. So yes, I do get orders through Instagram especially.
So you talked about taking lots of pictures. I know So I still, even though I'm doing the YouTube stuff and everything, I'm still doing commission pieces over here. Not nearly as much as I maybe would like to, but so I'm usually doing about 4 or 5 commission pieces a year. So I do pictures throughout the process. I make a nice little coffee book and give that to the client at the end because it tells a story of their piece being made from, well, not for you, it'd be from log. For me, it'd be store-bought lumber to, yeah, for the both of you, all the way to the finished process. And that's just one of those little nice bonus things to put in. But that's once I've gotten the order. Getting the orders, the hard part for me. So for you, it seems like saturation in all these different not marketplaces, but areas which people can find you has really helped you grow your business.
You're right. That's exactly right. Where I think back in the day, you would have had to like hire somebody to do this kind of stuff for you because it would be so much more difficult. Where now you just got to drink a lot of coffee and stay on your computer.
So Paul, being someone who actually has to sell the things that they make and that's their main source of income, what kind of advice can you give to people that are looking to price their own work? Because I know a lot of people have that question of, hey, I made this thing, now how do I go about pricing it? What's the good price for this? And do you do like a time-based pricing where you kind of like a shop time times the amount of hours you do it, or do more of a value pricing where you think this should be worth this much, or do you do like a combination of both?
Yeah, pretty much my pricing is really labor-based. It's I need to think how much I need to charge an hour and how long a piece should take. So working efficiently is really the key because sure, you can make a beautiful piece of furniture. It could take you 500 hours and then you need to charge $15,000 for that chair. But if you can do that same chair in 100 hours, and obviously you need to maintain the same quality, so you need to understand where your deficiencies are and improve on that. So you can sell that same chair for $5,000. So being efficient as a woodworker, I think, is really key when you're doing custom one-of-a-kind things. As I'm sure it's key if you're making kitchen cabinets. Working smart and putting in the hours is the most important.
Now, if you don't have the lumber cost that the rest of us do, Paul, if you had material cost in there, do you think you'd be just trying to recoup what you are spending on materials, or would you try to make some money off of that, or does it really matter as much as you think the piece is worth this, it takes me this much time, and that's what I'm trying to get? Right,
you're correct. I am basically using solid walnut most of the time, cherry, maple. They're certainly not the least expensive woods, so I do still have to factor in the lumber. And you're right, because I get it from logs or boards, my costs are much less, although what you need to factor in is the time that you've spent to get the log and the time that you've spent moving that board around 10 times. So that also has to factor into the cost. Although I was lucky that right off the bat from a woodworker, he said, listen, if you're getting your wood really, really cheap, then you can give a deal to the customers, but for that client to go and buy that wood, they're still having to pay that retail price. So you can then make your judgment from there.
Do you get people that come up to you and say, well, that's great, I don't want to spend $8,000 for a rocking chair, can we do it for $5,000? I mean, do you get a lot of that?
That's actually one aspect where I guess the work must speak for itself, because I've trying to think back right now at the shows I've gone to and emails, like I don't think I've ever gotten that type of comment. Everything, I think when people see the piece and they sit in it, the comfort that the piece brings, the quality of the work, I've been fortunate that I've never had that issue. I've had people say, I can't afford your work, but it's beautiful, and that's fully understandable. But at the same time, those people recognize the quality of the piece, and they know I can't just sell it for $200. That's just not a possibility.
So that's about all we have time for today, everyone. Thank you as always for watching, and thank you so much, Paul, for being on today. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to just talk with us and share your experiences with us.
So Paul, it was really, I had a lot of fun too. And guys, if you should definitely check out Paul's YouTube channel. You gotta subscribe to that. You gotta check out his Instagram feed and his website where he has everything on there. That's Canadian Woodworks. And maybe you wanna go up to the Ontario area and take a class from Paul on how to build a rocking chair.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. You might be hearing from me at some point in my life.
Yeah, guys, I had a blast as well. I really appreciate you having me on the channel. I always love talking woodworking with other woodworkers, and it's pretty amazing what we're able to do with this technology, that we can each be, well, I'm in a whole different country. You two are on two different sides of a country, and we get to have this conversation. So I appreciate everybody. If you want to check out my YouTube channel, Instagram is awesome to follow me. Both of them are, my username is Canadian Woodworks. And if you ever want to build a beautiful rocking chair, check out my course, and you can come up to currently snowy Canada. Although in the summer it is beautiful. The snow does melt. So come on up and build yourself a beautiful chair.
See, for you, it's snowing here. It's raining today. So for once, guys, this is only our 3rd episode, but it is not sunny and warm here in Southern California. It is rainy and cold, and by cold I mean maybe 50, 55 degrees today. So I still have short sleeves on.
Yeah, we're up in the 20s today, but it's nice and sunny though.
Oh, that's crazy.
Cold and sunny.
So hey, Paul, would you? We'd love to have you on again. Would you be open to that?
Hey, I'd love to be on here again, guys.
Great. So we'll see you guys in 2 more weeks with the next Matt Matthews show.
Thank you. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.